Alright guys, so Void Erosion Purge has been out for a little while, and I'm noticing that people are still kind of struggling to clear the content. So what I wanted to do is create a series where I played different Descendants and walked you through my thought process and what I was doing as I was playing them. That way you could get an idea of how to play these Descendants and what I find to be the best way to play them. So having said that, I think the first time we're going to start off with Lepic. Alright, so the first thing I notice when I start out is it's just me and 2 DPS, and both of them are Haleys, which means that we probably won't be taking a lot of damage, so all I need to do is really just keep everything grouped and pay attention. So coming to the first pack, I know that there are going to be shielded enemies, so my job as the Lepic is to go ahead and break those with my Voltia. So we went ahead and had it out, and we pulled all the enemies to the middle of the room. Now, what I was paying attention to there was the time to kill. My job as the Lepic is to try to speed ahead of my team and leave the pack before it's killed. That way I can get to the next pack, but I don't want to leave too early because I don't want to slow down the time to kill too much. So basically what we were doing right there was just kind of gauging the time to kill. Now for this, when I jumped into the room, I realized that the pack was going to be up top. We knew that from how many times we've ran it before. So we did go ahead and pull the pack up top. We didn't pull them down bottom because they would have got caught on that little lip, and that would have created another problem. So as we're going, I'm trying to pay attention to how fast we're killing these, so I know if I need to throw another ball. If I throw another ball and we kill all the enemies, it's going to pull the pack below up towards us, which is going to cause a whole nother problem. And as you can see, I did throw a ball a little bit too late, and that was my bad. I was still not sure what our time to kill was, so because of that, it did pull the pack up towards the wall, and then they got caught. The good news was I had enough time, or at least enough cooldown, to go ahead and throw another ball as soon as I got down bottom to try to recenter the pack. So the entire time that I'm trying to juggle this pack, I'm trying to throw the ball down at my feet or down at their feet. We don't want the pack to move around too much because we don't want our friends to have to hunt for where the ball is going to go. The other thing is I'm trying to watch my mini-map and make sure that I'm pulling everything to the right spot. Right now it looks like everything is being pulled and we're good to go. Now in that instance, I probably hung out for a little bit longer than I needed to and it slowed down our run, but again, this isn't a speed run. I'm just pointing out things that I did right and that I did wrong, and things that I will look at as I continue to do this to try to be just a little bit better. So as you can see with that pack, I actually did time it right and realized that we wouldn't need an extra ball. Now I did stay a little bit longer than I needed to, and because of that, when I ran, I knew that I was behind and I threw my ball, and it's kind of a scuffed placement. Now on that one you can see I did better. I knew it was going to take us about 2 balls, and I went ahead and just stayed there for the 2 balls and then bounced out. Now I've ran this room quite a bit, and I know that 2 separate packs spawn here, but I also know that if I pull out towards the center of the room, a lot of times some of these enemies get stuck on the pillars. So I intentionally tried to put this ball down towards the pit, that way nothing would actually get stuck. Now the whole time I'm doing this, I know that a second pack is going to spawn in. So while I'm juggling the pack, I am constantly watching my mini-map for when the next set of enemies spawn in, because I need to know if I pull them with the ball or if I need to reposition where I put the ball. So you can see one of the things that happened here, because the Haleys were already pre-firing, their bullets started to freeze things, and because they freeze things, that can sometimes prevent certain enemies from being pulled into the traction. So I'm again constantly watching my mini-map while I'm juggling these pulls to see if everything comes to the center or if I need to move the ball to try to get a better angle to pull the enemies to me. And you could see there, I realized we were down to our last enemy and I went ahead and ran out. I probably could have done that a little bit earlier, but still it was perfectly fine. Now we used our Sieve here because I wanted to see where the elite was in this room. Sometimes he spawns in the back left, sometimes he spawns in the middle, and I want to make sure that wherever I throw my ball, I'm going to be able to pull him unobstructed. We kind of have a pretty good idea of where he is in the room, so we're just going to go ahead and put our ball on the left side. Now we've pulled this hallway a lot of times. It's not a very tough hallway. We just want to get one good ball in there just to group them up. And as we finish this up, we're going to go ahead and turn and move on to the next group. Now this is another pack that I already know from running 30 a lot needs to have Voltia out. So if I would have been running with, say, a Enzo and had shotgun, unlimited shotgun ammo, I would have switched to my Voltia for this room, because as the Lepic, I feel like it's my job to break those shields off. So having said that, we did just jump down and pull straight into the center of the room. This is definitely high risk, high reward, especially if you don't have a lot of health. Because if you come into this room really late, you can take a lot of damage doing this. Also, if you don't have your Voltia out and you're expecting somebody else to have their Voltia out, your traction grenade will not pull those 3 enemies, which again makes this very high risk, high reward. If you jump in and you don't have your Voltia out, those guys won't get pulled into the traction, and there's a very good chance you can die here. So that's why I feel like as the Lepic, because you're the tip of the spear, you should be the one trying to take those shields off, because you're just saving yourself and you're letting your other teammates run higher priority mods that allow them to do more damage at lower health without having to worry about actually taking any damage. Again, that was another time I probably could have left a little bit earlier, but I did stay a little bit longer than I needed to. And what happened there was I had a brain freeze and forgot exactly what buttons I should be pressing. A lot of time as your Lepic, after you throw your traction grenade, you should be using your 2 to keep your damage up. Your 2 buffs your damage, especially with the Lepic build that I showed everybody to use. So the goal is to throw your traction grenade, then use your 2 and do the bonus damage. But sometimes muscle memory gets the better of me and I hit the wrong button. So as you can see, what happened there was I noticed that the Haleys had froze some of the enemies outside of the pack. And I know that there's a 50% chance that they're going to pull with the next traction ball. So what I did was I actually moved the placement of my traction ball over to those enemies. Now, most of these Haleys are using ACG and they have a pretty good range on their bounce bullets, but anything I can do to keep things grouped up just makes my life better and puts all of the drops in one spot. And that helps for certain DPS when they go to run routes, so they don't have to chase MP and other things all the way around the map. It's just all stacked up after they kill the pack. So my job as a Lepic is just to facilitate everything working better for my team. This was another easy pack. We know there's only one yellow bar. He's right by the door. We're just going to go ahead and drop that grenade in there and just do a little bit of damage and get ready to move on. That was actually a really scuffed traction grenade. I thought I was going to hit the top of the hill, but I kind of flicked a little too hard and it went up and over the hill. Now this room is actually really kind of hard to pull in because of the boxes. Where the enemies spawn, a lot of enemies get stuck behind the boxes. So while it seems the easiest to pull the center of the map, you really have to pay attention to who's spawning in and where they spawn in. Because this is one room that can cause you to have enemies not get pulled in your traction grenade, and then you have like a fragmented cleanup after the fact. So what I'm doing right now is I'm backing up and moving around the map while doing damage. And the thing here is to check my mini map to see where everybody's at, to see if I need to remove or reposition my traction grenade. I know it seems like it's arbitrary movement, but what I'm actually doing is sweeping the room to see what I need to do next. So based on my mini-map right now, I'm seeing some red off to my right, and I know there's a box there. So there's a really good chance that I have enemies stuck behind that box. Now, I don't know that for a fact because I haven't looked yet. But what we're going to do is try to move the pack to facilitate us pulling anything that might be there. And as I thought, there were enemies, and you can see damage procs off to my right, which means I didn't actually pull everything. So because we knew that happened, we actually positioned to the other side of the pack and threw a ball a little bit further over. And what that did was that let us pull the enemy from behind the box. These aren't major things, but these are things you will learn as you play Lepic more frequently. Your teammates are never going to notice that you're doing this, but you as a good Lepic are constantly paying attention to your map, where the enemies are, and doing what you need to do to group them up. And then right after that, I throw a scuffed traction grenade that didn't go in far enough. We did leave just a few seconds early, and that was probably my bad. So we actually took quite a bit of damage there, and that was because sometimes the enemies just drop out of traction, or there's not enough enemies to really warrant throwing another traction. We did an okay job with that pool, but I could have put it further in the room so I didn't block the door, because blocking the door makes it harder for me to get through and move ahead. So this is one room where people mess up the pool a lot, and a lot of times people try to pull to the top of this little plateau. And that's actually really bad because you get a lot of things stuck in a lot of really weird places. So don't get overzealous here and be afraid and just go ahead and run into the middle of the room. Again, this is high risk, high reward, because you will take a lot of damage, especially if you are behind the 8-ball and you didn't leave the last pack fast enough. But you will be happier to go ahead and pull things down bottom, because it's going to give you a better place to continue to pull while you're trying to clean all these packs up. So again, we know that other packs are going to spawn in, and we're constantly monitoring our mini-map to figure out what we need to do, or if there's any repositioning we need to do at this time. And I'm moving around while I'm doing this to try to see if things are stuck or if they're just frozen right outside the range. So we can definitely tell there's some stuff stuck behind us, and we're trying to reposition the pack without really causing our team to throw. And we're trying to get everything moved over where we want it to be. We clearly did a peek there to see if there were enemies stuck, and we could clearly see that there were at least 2 enemies stuck behind a box. And after clear examination, there wasn't 2, there was only actually 1, and he was pretty low health, so it was easier to clean up. And there was the second enemy, and he was stuck behind the cylinder. Now, as the Lepic, one of the things I want to try to do here is pull aggro if possible. There's a nice little spot on stage 30 right beside the stage where you can stand and Greg really can't hit you. So our goal here is to get in that position and hold Greg there so the rest of our team can get right on top of him. Greg calls down rockets from the air. And what we've seemed to notice is that if everybody is very, very, very close to Greg, he will not actually do that. But if people start moving around, he will call those in. So using a position like this is really nice because everybody can get right on top of him, and it typically will stop him from calling in those rockets. So we're just going to go ahead and use ACG to chip down his health because we don't really have any shotgun ammo. So what we're going to do here is we know he's going to call in ads, so we're just going to pull him up top so we can get them taken care of real quick while he assesses who he's going to target. Now, one of the big things to do when you get the target around you is to roll before it shoots. Rolling before it shoots is absolutely huge, and it will help you not take damage. Now in this one, I didn't actually get aggro the second time. One of my teammates did, and they are trying to get in the right spot, but as you could see, they weren't able to get in the right spot, and because of that, we couldn't get Greg locked in. So what ended up happening there was we ended up spreading out a little bit, and when we did, he started calling in rockets. So this Haley doesn't know about the spot, and that's perfectly fine. But what is going to happen is there are going to be times where we get rockets shot at us because these boxes don't allow you to stay close enough all the time. And see right there, basically what happened was I should have been paying attention to my teammate in the background, and I wasn't. But my teammate should have been paying attention to where I was because I was clearly in their line of sight. And they were tanking, and they brought Greg and his line of sight directly at me. So while I wasn't directly Greg's target, my teammate just got me hit, and that was my teammate's fault and not my fault. I could have played it better, but in that situation, that was your tank that brought damage to your DPS, and there's only so much you can do. So from looking around, I can see Greg's coming to me, and I'm trying to evaluate where I want to tank at. The other thing I'm trying to do is keep Greg as far away from my teammates as humanly possible because I want them to get a nice, easy, clean res. So my goal there was to try to get Greg up on top of the platform and then use the platform as sort of a last stand spot, kind of like what we do on the stage. So what happened there was I walked off and I couldn't see Greg because he's not flagged. So I peeked around the corner. As soon as I peeked the corner, Greg shot me. I was already low health from where I got hit with my teammate before, so it instantly downs me. All right, so now we're trying to grab some health, and we're trying to figure out who Greg is actually looking at. It looked like Greg was looking at me, but he was actually looking at my teammate. Because I thought Greg was looking at me, I tried to get on top of the cylinder, and once I realized Greg wasn't looking at me, I moved back in. The downside to this is it opens you up for a rocket attack. We're going to try to get him in another cheese spot. So once we get Greg on the cylinder, we're trying to hug the cylinder and trying to find a position to do damage. But the important part here is that we get Greg in a spot where he can't damage us, even if that means we can't damage him. And my two teammates can get as close to him as possible to stop the rockets from happening. All right, guys, and that's it. That is a play-by-play of how I run and what I think about when I'm playing Lepic. Hopefully you can take some of these tips and some of this thought process and implement it into your gameplay when you're playing Lepic. This will help you help your teams and help you do faster clears as well as clear the content easier. And it gives you something to do other than to just run around and no brain. But hopefully this helped you guys. If it did, let me know down in the comments and also give me any tips or tricks you have for using Lepic. If you guys enjoyed the content, consider subscribing for more First Descendant content and always consider checking me out over on Twitch. Thanks for watching, and as always, have a great day.